Hey, what's going on, my friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 5 things I think you should know about this amazing, very exciting full moon we have here on June 24th, 2021. Number 1, facing your fears. All our lives, most of us have wanted something. We've wanted more depth, more meaning, more love, more harmonious relationships, more abundance, more freedom, more confidence. And all these things, fortunately, are part of our natural state. They're in a sense our default set point. And the only reason we're not experiencing the fullness of who we actually are is because of a little thing called fear. Fear can seem big, but it's really not all that big. It reminds me of my son, Sebastian. There was this time, he's 5 years old, by the way, for those of you who don't know. And there was one time, he was actually 4 at the time. And I was watching him, and I came upon him, and he was sitting at the bottom of our steps that lead to the upstairs. And he had this sort of like forlorn, down look on his face. It was very obvious something was going on. So I said, "Hey, Bash, bro, what's the matter?" And he said, "Well, I want a toy that's upstairs." I said, "Okay, well, go get it. Well, what are you waiting for?" And he said, "Well, I'm afraid." "What are you afraid of, Bash?" And he said, in a very serious manner, he said, "Dinosaurs." It was hard to keep a straight face. And I was like, "Bash, do you actually think there's a chance you might encounter dinosaurs up there?" And he thought so. And that is a perfect example of a lot of the types of fears that all of us have allowed to hold us back from greatness, from our potential, from love, joy, expansion, etc. And the good news is this full moon is bringing in a tremendous amount of clear vision to where we can really look and see like, does it make sense, this apprehension, to go forward towards that which I want? Does it make sense? Fear can be tricky. And for a lot of our lives, we've clung to it because it sneaks its way into our psychology. And our mind is so good at creating a logical, at least a seemingly not logical narrative to justify the fear, but no more. You're waking up to that fear. And even though it might kind of come at you more intensely, and this fear can manifest through negative synchronicity and circumstance, and just more so just that feeling combined with our old pattern thinking, making it very challenging to go forward towards the things we really want in life. But the beautiful news is you can. You can feel the fear and do it anyway, as they said. My son Lucas, one of my other sons, I have 2, is a great example. We are recently in Austin, Texas, and I was so excited to bring my family to this place called Sculpture Falls, where there's cool cliff jumping. And my kids, they're all excited. They wanted to do it. My youngest son, Sebastian, he's 5 now. He's like, "No, I'm not doing it." I didn't expect him to. My oldest daughter, Maya, 12, she jumped right in over and over, loved it. My son, Lucas, he's almost 8 years old, and he wanted to, but he was afraid. So what I did is I jumped in the water and I said, "Okay, Luke, you just jump on in, buddy, and I'm gonna get you." So it's okay. It's not that high up. And you could tell he was like, he wanted to so bad. And a lot of you can probably relate to that. There's probably something in your life you want, but like Lucas, you feel afraid. And I saw it as a moment to be a good father. I said, "Lucas, buddy, it's okay to be afraid. We all are afraid at times. But it's a choice if you want to let it stop you. You don't have to. You have that power within yourself to jump in spite of the fear. You can jump anyways." And he did. And you know what happened? He jumped in and swallowed a bunch of water, and it was this whole thing. But even with that, he was so proud of himself. He swam out of the water and immediately ran over to Uncle Aaron, my buddy Aaron Dowdy, and my wife and the other people we were with. He was like, guess what I just did, guys? He was on cloud 9 all day. He learned a valuable lesson. You can feel the fear and do it anyways. And if you, my friend, right now start to sort of test your fears and say, are these as legitimate as I had previously made them out to be? And you just sort of test them, you will see that they're not, for one. And most importantly, you might be met with a lot of insight and personal breakthroughs and a breaking through truly of a lot of these fears that have held you back from the things you want in life for a very long time. You can feel the fear and do it anyways. That's a huge theme right now. Number 2, moving on in a major, large-scale, sort of life-shifting sort of way. A lot of you might find that your life, at least over this past year, has been kind of building you towards something, and you might have not really known what that something is. Some of you still might not know. And yet now it's happening. Now it's finally happening. It's almost as if the recent eclipses did what they needed to do to our energy, to our soul, to our being. And now life is starting to kind of shift around rather quickly to mirror who we actually are in absence of those traumas, those energies, those fears. And life is saying, this is who you are. And things might be happening quickly. You might find that chapters are closing. And this can be bittersweet. Right now, my family and I are going to move to Austin, Texas, kind of a big move. And the other day we are leaving Las Vegas or Summerlin, Nevada, where we were living previously. And as we were leaving it, I just had this sense like I just could feel I could feel that like closing energy. And I was looking at the mountains, which I love, and I felt very sad. But I've learned not to mistake the grieving with this is a wrong decision. It's okay. It was a beautiful chapter of my life. You might be closing a chapter that now, as you're looking back, sensing it's time to move on, you might say, wow, man, that was a good saga. We had a good run there with the good and the bad. It was a beautiful experience. And now it's just time to move on. Some of you might even question, boy, I seem to be moving on an awful lot these days. Well, it is what it is, my friends. These energies are causing us to have these spiritual awakenings and this acceleration of our ability to change and grow. And as we change and grow at a pretty unprecedented rate on the inside, our life just tends to shift around. And that's not good or bad, it just is. It's just an accelerated way of going through your ordinary human life. But it's important, as I mentioned in number 1, not to let those fears stop you. Because we're on the cusp, a lot of us are on the cusp of an incredible expansion of our life where we really will start to reap the fruits of what we've been sowing. I don't know if I said that correctly, but we're starting to really, life is starting to say, here, you've done the work and it's time to be paid up for the work you've done, inner and outer. And these changes are incredibly positive. And yet they might be so unfamiliar that it might take a little while to grow on you. For example, me moving to Austin. I didn't want to move to Austin. I didn't want to move my family again. When I went to visit recently, about a week ago, I saw my buddy there and I was like, oh, I don't know, man. And I started to kind of make the choice because I sensed it was a great place to raise a family. But I was not excited. I was sad about Las Vegas. But as I was there, as I stepped into that alignment, it started to show me like you can enjoy yourself here too. And it's a huge expansion for me and the family on all levels to a really powerful degree. And as I always mention, my friends, I'm not just sharing about my experiences to talk at you. It's because these energy updates that have been fairly accurate for so many years are literally just me sharing what's going on in my life and nothing more mystical than that. So as I talk about myself, you can use it as a metaphor and I would bet can already relate to these stories in your own way. So what I'm saying is you can expect big, major paradigm shifting upgrades. Number 3, you might be finding that there's a strong need, a new requirement for you to have a bigger outlet for your creative passion, your creative energy. Underneath all the trauma, all the healing you've been doing for so long is more of you, more of your true essence that you can now embody in a fuller way. And part of our essences as divine spirits is creativity. You might find that you have a tremendous amount of, this little hummingbird always greets me when I make the videos. Anyways, you might find that you have a tremendous amount of creative energy. And if you're in a life situation or a career or something that's really stifling your ability to really express that in its full capacity, you might feel anxious, depressed, fatigued. And if you feel that right now, anxious, depressed, fatigued, like something is not right in my life, because it's time, a lot of you, because it's time for a bigger outlet. You're bigger, you're more powerful, you're more worthy, you're more capable than you think. This awakening is all about unraveling who you are, not as a human being, but as a soul. As a person who has perhaps done certain types of things for many, 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 many lifetimes. Reminds me of, I recently closed out a coaching group. I coach coaches basically and teach them how to create an online business for themselves, spiritual coaches. And many of them, they feel this calling to do it. And a lot of them are successful in other ways in their life, but they're taking this massive turn into becoming a coach. And a lot of them have these doubts. Am I ready? Who am I to say, hey, I'm a coach? I'm not perfect yet, you know? And what I try to tell them is that, especially you healers, you artists, you channelers, you folks who are just now uncovering these abilities within yourself, these abilities are things you've been doing for a very, very, very long time, extending well beyond this little lifetime. So you don't have to rely upon this present incarnation's seemingly limited experience. For one, your whole life has built you up for this, and you're more ready than you think. And a lot of the things you've gone through are actually perfect training for it. But most importantly, as you go forward, you can kind of step back and allow your higher self to express through you. And it's more of you becoming a conduit for what's already there, whether you remember having all these lives and trainings or whatever or not. So it's time to find a bigger outlet that can handle who you really are as a soul that is now more present than ever before in your system, longing to express itself in whatever way. And it could be a lot of different things. Whatever way resonates with you. It's time. Number 4, things happening very fast. In fact, I think yesterday Mercury went direct. And regardless, it's like this time period, it's like big life changes happening extremely quickly, basically. And even though they're positive, there's always a mixed bag of feelings. It can seem like things are happening too fast. Like, how am I going to get all these things done? But it doesn't matter. We're working on we're working with like divine timing now, basically. And all these little details your mind might be fretting about will come together in a very harmonious way, whether you can foresee it all playing out or not. So what I also want to say is a lot of you might have felt stagnant for some time. Like you've been anticipating a big change, but really not knowing how it's going to play out, feeling confused, feeling a bit lost. Like, why is life taking me in all these on this winding road that seems to make not a lick of sense ever, and it's been a long time, things should have been clear by now, etc. Now is the time that things will start clicking into place. Now is the time you'll start to look back at what seemed like a haphazard, random path and see the perfection within it. Because you're stepping out of fear. You're stepping into your power. You're closing old chapters, stepping into a new beginning. And as you do, you're getting more into alignment with not only your true self, but also the flow of life. And when you're in harmony with this river of life, things in the physical happen extremely quickly. Like, how many of you have been watching me over the last 8 months and heard me talking about moving? We're moving to Sedona. No, we're not. We're staying in Las Vegas. Nope. I've been feeling stagnant in that, really wanting to know what's the best move for my family. I've been wanting to dig roots. I have 3 kids, a wife, and I want to dig roots for them. And I've the school season's coming up, and I'm like, man, I gotta find out what's going on. I felt stagnant, I felt lost, nothing was really seeming obvious, nothing was clicking. I mean, anyway, as I did all the things I mentioned earlier in this last week, and went to Austin with my family, everything happened at such a speed, it was ridiculous. It was almost like God mapped it out for me. We got there, and after about a day and a half, the family was on board with Austin. As that happened, a brand new house came on the market to rent. And by the way, it's very hard to find good rentals in Austin right now. One came on the rent, it clicked, we released it the next day, and we're gonna be moving in like a few weeks. Like, everything's happening so fast. And some of you are saying, it's happening too fast, Vic. I don't know how I'm gonna do all this. I've been through these big transitions before, and it can be mentally stressful as you look at it from the mind. But I can tell you from experience, big changes when you're in alignment and in flow can happen in a surprisingly effortless way. Now is the time to not try to analyze things with your mind, but rather just do the next obvious thing and trust things will unfold perfectly, and they will. And lastly, number 5, my friends, right now is a time of culmination, a time of positive culmination. It's a time of ease, flow, and abundance. Yes, abundance. And abundance, it's a multifaceted word. It's pregnant with meaning. Abundance to one might mean, I've been going through life last 10 years feeling completely alone. Nobody in my town gets me. I don't relate to anybody I work with. I'm not very close to my family, etc. And all of a sudden you might find you're not meeting 1 or 2 friends, but you're meeting a whole bunch of friends popping into your life very quickly. Some of you, this might be a new career, a new beginning in some way where just all of your life preferences are basically stacking up around you at an incredible rate, and it can be an ecstatic, thrilling journey of, oh my God, this is who I am. By golly, I deserve this. And as you come into that recognition of worthiness, true worthiness, that you deserve abundance, whatever way that word manifests for you, you deserve it. And as you're coming into this grounded knowing that I deserve abundance, it will start to come into your life, and it probably already is at a very fast rate. Not because you're lucky, not because you took a lucky turn, but because you freaking deserve it. Because you've done the work, the shadow work, you've purged, you've been trusting your intuition as best you can, and going through life in alignment, and now it's time to reap what you've been sowing all along. Now is your time, my friend. Now is your time to shine. Now is your time to welcome in with open arms all the things you want in life, because they are yours for the taking. You've earned them, and it's your time. Let it in, my friends. That's the name of the game. Test those fears and let in the abundance, and you'll have a phenomenal full moon. Much love, my friend. My camera's about to die. Have an amazing day. Peace.